Our final code sample here for 15 is the idea of multiple inheritance. And again, this is going to be pretty similar to what we've seen with aggregation. It's going to be pretty similar to what we've seen with friends of a function. It's just that we are, more and more and more granularly defining what it is that you can do as a developer. And here we have three different kinds of classes. Now, the date and the time class would be, at the top of our hierarchy. And from that is derived date time. So that's the idea of multiple inheritance. It's that a derived class can have one or more base classes associated with it. So that is all. I'm not trying to make it more complicated than it has to be. That's really all we have here. The important things that we are adding here with the content in this chapter are as follows. So if we trace through here, we've got the idea of time. So time takes an hour, a minute, and a second in order to actually instantiate one of its class. So instantiate an object of its class. So you can see that here. Here's my constructor. It takes 3 arguments. We're good there. Okay. Next we have date. Date takes day, month, and year. I just set it to the beginning of this year, and our constructor here takes a day, a month, and a year as integer values in order to set those for date. Date time, here is where the interesting pieces come through. You will notice here in the header file that we do have to include time, or date rather, and time, their headers here at the start of our date time header. You'll notice also that I just have the function stub here for my date time constructor. That's the next thing we are going to go take a look at. Here again, you'll notice the scope resolution. So what we're saying is here that class date time inherits, that's what the single colon here rather is for, not scope resolution. That's my mistake. And then here it inherits from public date and public time. So if we come look at, my mouse is going crazy. The constructor here for date time, this is where all of the interesting stuff happens. So here is our double colons, and that is our scope resolution sorry about that. So date time, and you'll notice that we are passing along for date time 6 parameters here. So it's going to take 6 parameters, right? So 6 arguments are going to be day, month, year, hour, minute, second. And the only thing we're doing, and we're doing it with the single colon here because that is showing where the inheritance comes from, is date. And date, you'll remember, we've included in date times header, and we are calling to the date constructor, comma. We could have as many base classes here as we need, and they can be separated by commas. So now we're going to call to the time, constructor here with hours, minutes, seconds. So you'll notice that this does jive. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the number of parameters that we are expecting here is going to be correct. And here, just because I forgot to mention it at the beginning, you'll notice that date time is comprised of, so there's the inherits from date and time. So if we come back to main.cpp and we run this, we've got an empty datetime object called empty day, and you will see that that is right here, 1/1/21, no date or no time value associated with that. So here we've got another day, and this time we are passing to it, roughly speaking, except for maybe the time. Oh, that's pretty close. We are passing to it the values that we want for the time today. So there you have it, 4/16/2021, 10:32-ish a.m. So that is the multiple inheritance that you're going to see there. Just remember, it looks and acts a lot like aggregation did. It looks and acts a lot like friends did, where we have access to, and it works a lot like single inheritance did too, we have access to the base class's member functions because of the inheriting it does there. Now, instead of having a single base class, we can have multiple base classes that we are in fact inheriting down from.